Hello, how are you? Today I want to share with you an incredible story from one of my followers who used to crave sweets a lot, made a change in her daily routine, and managed to lose about 13 pounds. That's a lot. There are people who really crave sweets, whether it's dessert after lunch or dinner, or sometimes in the middle of the afternoon or before going to bed. Sometimes a person has a proper lunch, a proper dinner, a nice balanced breakfast, but slips up with these little sweets. And she tried out an idea inspired by one of my recipes, which I'll share with you here, that really helped her control her sweet cravings and actually has a very important metabolic effect. She came up with some really clever variations to be able to change things up day to day, the flavors and everything else, so she wouldn't fall into monotony. So I'm going to tell you how this works in your body, how to use this sweet treat to your advantage without having to give up the taste that so many people enjoy. Stick around until the end. You won't want to miss this. Before we start, I want to ask you, do you prefer sweet or savory? Write down here for me which team you're on in the comments below. I'd love to see your comment. And remember to go ahead and like the video because you know that helps a lot. It's your way of supporting me. And share it with anyone you know who would enjoy it or who needs it. Let's spread this chain of kindness. That's what I want here on the channel. So it's really funny because a lot of people actually crave sweets. We say things like, I'm not hungry, but I just feel like having something sweet. I've already had lunch or dinner, I'm satisfied, but I still need a little dessert. So it's important for us to have healthy options, right? In her case specifically, why did this work? Because she replaced the desserts and sweets she used to eat every day, which were heavier sweets, with one of my recipes based on gelatin. You've probably seen that I've made several gummy candies here on the channel with many different ingredients for different purposes, using natural, unflavored, unsweetened gelatin as the base. And she took that idea and turned it into several recipes. But instead of making gummies, she made larger cups. Like a dessert cup, like a pudding or a mousse. I'll explain exactly what she did and why it worked. Okay, first, because she solved the behavioral problem. She didn't fight her craving for sweets, she didn't forbid herself. In fact, she just redirected it. The brain doesn't really feel that loss as much. It feels the substitution. This helps maintain progress and reduces the chances of relapse. Because imagine you say, I'm not going to eat any more sweets. You want to eat sweets. So ideally, you should be able to fit in a dessert that's healthy, light, tasty, high in protein, and helps you. Second point, it definitely has to do with smart calorie reduction, right? Because a dessert can easily have, depending on what it is, 200, 300 calories, a slice of pie, a chocolate cake, a flan, a mousse, an ice cream. So when you make a smarter version, you can have a much lower amount of calories. And since there are people who are in the habit of consuming this every day, when they make a daily change as well, the accumulated calorie savings over the weekend up being very significant. It might seem silly, like, I just changed one dessert, but if you eat dessert every day, this will have a big impact because it's part of your routine. So that's what leads to weight loss. We have to keep that in mind. Weight loss isn't about one day of restriction, it's about consolidating these changes, it's really about repetition. There's also the issue of satiety and blood sugar control because gelatin, especially when we combine it with fiber or seeds, which I'll explain to you later how she did it, increases satiety, takes up space in the stomach, slows gastric emptying, and helps reduce hunger afterward. This directly impacts the total calorie intake throughout the day. Think about it with me. Gelatin is nothing more than cooked collagen. It's protein. So it also helps with skin, nails, hair, and many people who are in the process of losing weight become flabbier, they feel their skin is less firm, and gelatin can help with that. There's also the matter of blood sugar control, because unlike desserts that are rich in sugar, like the ones I mentioned, this version has a much smaller impact on glucose, so it avoids insulin spikes. That classic sequence, right? Glucose spike, insulin spike, drop in glucose, hunger again, craving for sweets. So it breaks that bad cycle that often happens to many people. Now here's where the interesting details begin, because she didn't make this jello with water. She used tea as the base for these desserts. And this is a really cool detail because she didn't like drinking tea on a daily basis, she didn't like hot drinks, and that's why she didn't have the habit of consuming tea every day. And when she started using gelatin to dissolve, to make as a base, the tea to dissolve the gelatin and use as the base for the dessert, she managed to incorporate all of that. So one day she would use hibiscus, another day she'd use turmeric, ginger, and when she wanted to have the dessert at night, she'd add chamomile to help her relax, or lemon balm. So this helped her create a habit of being able to naturally consume cold teas in the form of dessert and bring in important bioactive compounds. Polyphenols, antioxidants, anti-inflammatory compounds that help with metabolism as a whole. I have many videos here on the channel talking about the different types of teas that can help you lose weight. And I'll leave those videos down below in the description for you. So I'm going to teach you how she did it in practice. The base is very simple. You use unflavored sugar-free gelatin, water, or tea, which is what she used, and some natural flavoring. And what she did that was really cool was that she would vary it. So sometimes she would add chopped fruit, lemon zest, orange zest. Sometimes she would add some spices like cinnamon, turmeric, ginger. So you dissolve the gelatin according to the proportion, depending on how much you want to make. Just follow the instructions. If you're going to use tea as the base, you dissolve it directly in the tea, mix the liquid with these ingredients, with the chopped fruit, with seeds if you want, with the spices, then pour it into little containers. And that was her tip. She would put it in bigger containers, like the ones for mousse or ice cream, and then she'd put it in the fridge. In just a few hours, it was ready, and you had a refreshing, nutritious, sweet dessert. She said that sometimes, depending on the flavor, she would add a few drops of stevia or another sweetener she used daily. But depending, for example, if she used strawberries or something like that, she didn't even need to add anything. So it always depends on what you're going to add to make your Jell-O. And the most interesting part is that since she changed up the flavors a lot, one day it was a little chopped strawberry with hibiscus tea. It ended up tasting like red fruits. Another day, some orange zest with a little bit of turmeric and cinnamon. Sometimes red fruits with lemon and ginger. She kept changing it up. So she never got tired of it, which is also a really interesting point. And this ends up being fundamental because what is one of the biggest problems with diets? Monotony, right? Eating the same thing every day. Someone might manage for a week, but then they get sick of it and can't keep up the pace. So if you want to use her base and boost it even more, you can also do what I mentioned before. Add a bit of chia, a bit of psyllium, or add flaxseed, chopped pumpkin seeds. Some kind of seed or fiber to make it even more powerful depending on your needs, which will have an even greater metabolic impact. So it's also important to remind you that this substitution isn't magical, right? She didn't lose weight just because of the Jell-O, but the Jell-O definitely had a very significant metabolic and caloric impact. But obviously she was also taking care of her diet, exercising, and sleeping well. So all of that needs to be taken into consideration. The idea isn't that this is going to be magical or miraculous, but it can definitely help you achieve real results. So tell me, which of these ideas are you most likely to incorporate into your daily routine? Something sweeter or something more functional and refreshing? I would love to see your comment. What would your functional Jell-O recipe look like? Write it for me because I would love to see your comment. And if you want some inspiration, I have plenty here. I'll leave a few down below to inspire you. Go ahead and like the video because that really helps me out, and share it with anyone who would enjoy it or needs it. Let's expand our chain of kindness. That's what I want on the channel. See you next time. Bye.